Michelle, I once had a coworker and friend. Her name was Sharita, and she taught me a term. It's I guess, an abbreviation of a term that I really liked. PPG, personal and professional growth. And Sharita was real big on that, and I am too. I have a growth mindset. I think I'm trying to develop one. I want to get better at what I do, and that stuck with me. We're going to be talking about that today, and particularly one aspect of it. And I think anybody who would be interested enough to tune into this podcast, this leadership conversation, has got a similar idea of the importance of growth, and we all believe in it. And we understand that growth it makes us better, but there's one particular aspect of it that I want to get to today, and we'll build a foundation and we'll get where we're going here. But the where we're going is that growth doesn't automatically make us better and wiser and accomplish everything that it needs to accomplish. It only benefits us really, and we get the maximum benefit from it when we have the right perspective on growth. And our perspective doesn't just change just because, it changes when we get into motion. That's what we're talking about on today's episode. Hey, welcome to the M Squared Leadership Podcast. This is a space where we talk honestly about the real challenges leaders face and what it actually takes to lead well in the real world. I'm Michael Hales. That's Michelle Hales. We're M Squared Leadership. Thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely.
So, Michelle, as we talked about in the intro, we're going to talk about growth today.
Hmm.
And it's a subject that I'm passionate about. I know you are too. Um, our mentor, John Maxwell, wrote a book on growth, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And we've read the book, we've studied it in detail, we've talked about it, we've, kind of taught classes on it and the whole 9 yards. And it's really a subject that we're passionate about. And I had a revelation recently about growth that I've never really heard anybody articulate. I'm not sure it's original, but it was new to me. And so we wanted to share it with you guys today.
Yeah, when I think about growth, um, not all growth is good. And I once heard a sermon where a minister was talking about, you know, growing churches.
Hmm.
And if we grow churches, and he was talking about literally in numbers, like the number of people that we could get to the church building.
Hmm.
But not all growth is necessarily healthy.
Hmm.
And you think about, if your dog gets stung, on the face by a bee and his face swells up, that's
It's
a growth.
growth.
It has expanded, but it was a bad expansion.
Hmm.
Um, so I always want to put into perspective what I'm learning, how I'm growing, and what that really looks like when I'm in motion.
So you said the magic word, I think, for today's episode, which is perspective. And I think that's what you said is a really good example of that. You can observe something, and from one perspective, it looks like growth. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like maybe something that could possibly be good. It's
Mm-hmm.
getting bigger. But when you have the correct perspective, you can see that for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, this is not good. This is
Right.
something that's harmful and
Right.
damaging. And it's not exactly where we're going with this, but it's a good illustration of how something can look different when when you change your perspective, when you
Absolutely.
move from one perspective to a different one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think where we want to start here is a few truths about growth. And these are things that you and I have learned, and these are things that we've picked up from other people who are smarter and more experienced than we are. But we'll just kind of talk about a few of these to lay a foundation of what we believe about growth. So, number one, growth is essential to a full life. And I think this is kind of a no brainer. You don't want to, I don't think anybody would ever start off their life as an adult and think, okay, I have, I've been to school, I've been to done whatever, I've graduated, I'm now starting my adult life journey, and I am already there. There's nowhere else to go. This is just me. I'm never going to get any better. I'm not going to grow from here. No, of course, you want to continue growing and becoming a better and better version of yourself. I don't think that's too big of a stretch for somebody to accept.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, number two, growth must be a lifelong pursuit. I don't think there's a finish line to this thing.
For sure. I think about it with, like I always go back because I'm a mom, and in parenting, you don't, you never stop being a parent. There's just different stages of it. You become, you start playing a different role as your child ages. And I think it's really important that we know that when we're growing ourselves personally and professionally, that you don't stop. You
Hmm.
just, you evolve. And as we evolve, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but as you get going, as you get into motion, you know that there's so much you don't know.
Hmm.
And you start building on that. And, it's funny, we always talk about how in our youth, um, we think we know everything because we found out one fact.
Uh huh.
But as we get older, we know there was millions of facts, and there's millions of things to know and different ways to look at things, and you didn't know it all, and you start almost doubting yourself because you realize how much you don't know.
I think there's two underlying ideas here that are important to point out. Number one is just that there is so much to know.
Mm-hmm.
The universe, life, this creation, however you want to term it, is so vast and full of wonder
Mm-hmm.
that nobody has figured it all out. There's still, no matter how far you go in learning all there is to learn about whatever it is, however narrow you want, there's still more.
Sure.
Even when you think you've gotten to the end, there's still more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second idea is human potential.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much. Every living person listening to this has so much potential
Mm-hmm.
to, even as much as you may grow, you never reach the pinnacle. There's still more. You can still do better and greater and
Mm-hmm.
bigger. So, yeah. So it's a lifelong pursuit. And that's why I think there's a difference between, I'm all for goal setting, and I think that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about goals is you reach them, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a natural ending to
Mm-hmm.
that. So unless you set more goals after that, you've reached a finish line.
Mm-hmm.
But with growth, and this is what John Maxwell kind of argues in his book and in his teachings, is focus on growth. Don't focus so much on goals, but focus on continual growth, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no finish line there.
Right.
Okay, number three, growth is personal. It doesn't look the same for everyone. You're going to grow in your own way. I'm going to grow in my own way. We should both be doing it, but it's going to look a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that when I've done, coaching and that sort of thing, people will ask for recommendations or what can I do? I can give you some ideas to get started, and that'll get you on the journey,
Hmm.
but then you have to get into your niche, the things that are relevant to you where you are on your journey,
Yeah.
and put it into motion where it's applicable in your life right now.
What you want to learn and how you want
Mhm.
to learn it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's very personal. Um, the next point, number four, meaningful growth is usually intentional. And of course, as we go through life, there is some growth that just happens organically and
For sure.
naturally, and you almost can't help but learn
Nature
this or
teaches us that. A
sure.
weed is going to grow, a flower is going to grow,
Oh, that's so good.
children are going to grow. They're going to grow up, but are they healthy? Are they well nourished? Is their mind being developed in the right way? Are they learning to read and write? Are they learning what they're supposed to learn at this phase in their life?
And the first thing you said is such a powerful point because you have to watch accidental growth or unintentional growth because what grows naturally? Weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Something nobody wants, and they're just naturally going to happen, which leads to the next point, or leads to the crux of this point that we're making. Meaningful growth is usually intentional.
Yes, always.
You're not just going to a garden full of lovely vegetables and herbs and flowers and whatever. It's not just going to magically spring up in the fertile soil of your backyard or whatever. You're gonna have to put some sweat and toil
Absolutely.
into that.
Yes.
So meaningful growth and the kind of growth that we're all shooting for is intentional. Okay, point number five. Pain is often what creates the opportunity to grow. Um, think about when you're a kid, if it, you always go back to the idea of the hot stove. You touch the hot stove, it hurts. You learn not to touch the stove anymore when it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that pain that kind of prompts us to, perhaps there's something I should learn here
Mm-hmm.
and a way that I need to grow through this experience. And so that's a very useful prompt for us to know when I might need to make a change here in
Yep.
the way I've been doing this. Which leads to the next point, number six. Wise people, if we're smart, will take a cue from other people. And if we see somebody else touch the hot stove, we can know I probably shouldn't do that either, even though you didn't, you kind of adopted the secondhand pain
Mm-hmm.
that they suffered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. If we're wise, we'll do that.
Absolutely.
So this we're getting close to where I really want to be here. Number seven, perspective determines what we can learn. So let me see if I can explain this the way it came to me. I've been on this journey as an entrepreneur for about a year and a half ish here. And I've been learning from some very smart people. And just an example. So Michelle and I are both members of the Maxwell certified team.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the really key people, key mentors, key people that we can learn from on that team is a man named Chris
Mm-hmm.
Robinson, who is a self proclaimed product of the product. He started off as a Maxwell coach and rose up within the company to be the executive vice president of something or other. And he does a weekly call where he just pours into us. And one of the things that he says is, get out the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned that. I've taken that in. This is his experience. He knows, he's learned that this is something that's essential to building a business like we're trying to build. And he shared that with me, and I have the right outlook on it. I know I need to learn that from him. I'm taking it in. But to be honest, I did it, but I didn't really understand the fullness of why it was important for me to do it.
And it was painful to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so for the business that we're building, we've got to educate people about the services that we offer. And there's not a lot of us around that are doing this particular thing in this particular area. We've got to educate people. We just got to get in the room with people that care about our services.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to be done through um, cold calling, just sending an
It's
email.
going to be done
Hey,
through
look at,
relationship
absolutely,
building.
look at our website. It takes meeting people, letting them get to know us, letting them learn our values, our character, what we have to offer, adding value to them before we ever ask anything from them, being part of the community. And we didn't really know that that's what it was going to take when we started this.
Mm-hmm.
But we trusted Chris when he said, get out the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we started doing. And I'll tell you, those first several times we got out of the house, it was awkward.
Nothing happened.
We were fumbling over our words, but we learned what we didn't know.
Yes.
We were like, okay, we got to have a better pitch.
Mm-hmm.
We got to have a better way of explaining what we do. And, those first few months, we were like, hey, can we really even do this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this really going to even happen? But we kept doing it. And although I'm still working full time at my job,
Mm-hmm.
you have been faithful to get out of the house. And it's gotten easier. People love you. Now, everywhere you go, people are coming up to you. They know you. You're connecting people. And it is just a beautiful example of we didn't know this.
Mm-hmm.
And we trusted that from a person that has already been there, already done it, and we heard what he had to say, and we did it even though it was painful, and we have grown from it. We got in motion and we grew.
And that brings us to, I mean, you set it up perfectly. The big idea here, and point number 9, perspective changes, or this may be point number 8. Perspective changes when we move.
Yes.
And even though we can sit here now and say we didn't know everything that was behind why Chris was telling us that, I believe even if we had known, even if he did a great job of articulating
Sure.
why, but even if he could have hit all the nuances that we needed to know to explain why it was important for us to do this, and even if it was tailor made, custom made just for us
Mm-hmm.
to understand it, I'm here arguing that we still wouldn't have got it
Until we did it.
academically. There's never going to come a point to where you get everything you need growth wise just from an academic pursuit and an academic exercise. You can't get it sitting behind the computer watching lessons and reading books and all of that. And even though all of that is wonderful and you
Mm-hmm.
need to be doing that, you get it when you start putting it into motion. But because then it becomes real and you see, oh, I know what he was talking about now.
And so
Because your perspective has
absolutely.
changed.
And the other thing that Chris told us, and it's his little mantra, learn a little, do a little. Learn a little bit, get in motion. It solidifies what you've learned,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns that knowledge into understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can build on that. And you start getting what John calls the big mo.
Mm-hmm.
You start getting momentum. And that's in his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's one of his principles. That once you start getting that momentum built, yes, you've got to have the knowledge. That's where you start your personal and professional growth plan.
So you may
Is
be going there
knowledge.
with this anyway, but as we were prepping for this, you talked about the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Take us there.
Yeah. So, and I believe the Bible even talks about that. Solomon was one of the wisest men in the Bible, and there's more. You do study to show yourself approved. But where it shows up is when you start putting things into action.
Application.
Application. Application is where the wisdom will start coming. You'll start growing that discernment because you've got knowledge and now you've got a situation in front of you where you have to apply that knowledge. And then your discernment will start coming in and you're seeing this situation play out. That's where your wisdom can be built upon the knowledge that you had, but it's actually in the application.
Mm-hmm. Um,
I think knowledge is passive and
oh,
wisdom
that's
is
good.
active.
There has to be an active element with true wisdom.
Yes.
Because knowledge is good, but how useful is it if there's no application
Right.
of it?
So Solomon was then able to have people come before him. He knew just how to play out the situation, with the baby,
Mm-hmm.
if you know that story.
Mm-hmm.
And, the true mother was going to come and say, no, save my baby. I don't care. Give it to her. I'd rather my baby live with this other woman than be killed. And then he knew who the real mother was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the wisdom starts coming into play, is when you're in motion.
Absolutely. Um, One final thing here that I think, if I can articulate it, and I don't have a visual in front of us, but if I can articulate this, I think it'll be a valuable illustration of what we're talking about with perspective. Have you ever seen these videos of, it can be a straight on shot of something that looks like maybe a parrot sitting on a branch or something. And it, for all the world, as you're looking at it, it looks just like that.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like that's what it is. But then the camera starts to pan around
Yes.
to the side,
Uh-huh.
and you start to see that, okay, the the first thing that I'm seeing here starts to separate, and it's layers of like junk that somebody has put together, and they crafted it in a three-dimensional structure in such a way that from one particular angle it looks exactly like the representation that they were going for, a parrot sitting on a branch. But as you start to shift around to the side, you can see what it really is. Oh my goodness, that, how in the world did they do that? That's exactly what I'm talking about with this perspective
Mm-hmm.
idea, is it looks a certain way when you take in head knowledge from, and in this entrepreneurial journey that we've been on, we've learned from people like John Maxwell and like Dave Ramsey,
Mm-hmm.
and like just luminary
Yeah.
world class individuals in their respective fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there as an audience member or reading the books or taking in the lessons, whatever, and I'm just wrapped. My attention is just, oh yes, this is so good, and I'm getting it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I go into motion and start trying to live out what they're talking about, and I'm doing my own, trying to grow my own business, I, I see my perspective starting to shift a little bit. Oh, that's what he was talking about when he said that. This is how it plays out in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to get that until you get into motion, until you
Absolutely.
start to shift a little bit and you see things from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to get into motion. And here's the final thing that I wanted to share on this, and this is what really prompted all of this for me, is I'm the kind of person that when I experience something like that, I'm like, come on,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, what in the, why didn't you get that?
Right.
But you know what? It's okay.
It is.
I I started on the journey, and I'm there now. Now I'm starting to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never got here if I hadn't started there. So do something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't despise whatever you haven't learned to this point, but just start here and pick up and go forward.
Absolutely. And that is true in all, whether it's your career, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, growing a business, whatever you're doing, parenting, in a relationship. Michael and I have been married 35 years, and we still, on a road trip the other day, listened to a podcast about marriage.
Hmm. From Pat Lencioni in the Table Group.
It's
It's
very
fantastic.
excellent. And there's never, we've already covered this, but there's never a stopping point for that learning. And once you get going, you can start pinpointing what you actually need to learn. And then you can move into more detailed areas of learning and applying what you've learned. I remember the first Maxwell conference we ever went to, we paid for on our own dime. We had not started a business. We were still in our careers in Social Security, but we had a hunger for, personal and professional growth, as Sharita calls it, PPG.
PPG.
And we went there, and I filled up my little journal with notes. It was just all so good. I took it all in. It was so good. Sometimes it was years before I applied that,
Mm-hmm.
because although it was good, I wasn't in motion in that particular area
Mm-hmm.
where it could be applied. But that seed was
The
planted.
seed was planted.
And although it wasn't rich soil right then where that particular principle could grow,
Mm-hmm.
it was something I could reach back on, read it again, learn it again, and go over it, put it into action now, and apply it in my life. And things started blooming, things started really happening. So I don't think we should be hard on ourselves, because
No.
especially now in the age of information,
Yes.
where there's so much information coming at us,
Mm-hmm.
and you're thinking, I need to learn this. Oh my gosh, I don't know enough about that. I've got to start learning about this. Don't beat yourself up. We're
No.
not supposed to know everything in the world. We're supposed to be who we are and who God created us to be, and we're supposed to bloom where we're planted
Mm-hmm.
and start applying principles maybe that you've already learned, but as you start moving along, they'll become so much more meaningful to you.
Yeah.
And don't beat yourself up because, well, I heard that years ago. Why haven't I been doing that? It
No.
wasn't the right time. It was, now's the time. So
Now
just
is the
just
time.
put it into motion.
That's wonderful. I love it. You're going to gain more perspective when you're in motion.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us here in the M Squared Leadership Conversation. Remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers. Sometimes it's about being willing to ask better questions. Until next time, stay curious, lead well, and keep the conversation going.
Bye, guys.